Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to another broadcast of the American Ricci Mahjong League. This is Nathanael here, joined by Edwin,
Hello.
and we are also very grateful for a little bit of help from Scott, who's helping us produce this tonight. Thank you, Scott. And we are going to be covering some B2 action for you this evening, at least for the first couple of Hanchan, and then we'll be switching over to some B1 games as well. Looks like for this first match, we're in Division B2, Pool A, and it's going to be Christopher, Felipe, Blaine, and Brett. I believe we've seen a few of these players before in previous broadcasts, and I'm excited to see how they'll fare tonight. It looks like right now it's Christopher and Felipe who are near the top of the division in the B2A, and the game is underway. It looks like we'll be starting out with Brett as first dealer, and to the right is Chris. Across the table, Blaine, and to the left, Felipe. Early call on the left by Felipe, looking to grab that Yakuhai and build a quick hand, has a Dora 4 Mon. And the dealer hand is not so callable, but potential for Ipeco in the Pinzu, and possibly even Honitsu as well. And wow, a con already from Felipe.
Interesting that it's early, so going aggressive like that's probably not a bad thing necessarily. And up until the call by Christopher with the East, probably could have thought that they were at least ahead of everybody else, relatively speaking.
Yeah, that north is hard to hold in hand as it's not efficient. So maybe just calling the con right away and building the hand as it is. Now with 2 or potentially 3 door in hand, depending on how these shapes complete, this could turn into a Mongan.
Yeah, and I wonder how Brett's going to play this because there is a possibility also that he could go for a Honitsu Chinitsu, although he has punted the green dragon, which I'm not quite sure would have, if you're going for a Honitsu of some sort, that you wouldn't be holding on to that temporarily, but maybe he's also figuring that he's also maybe a step slower compared to the other two who have opened their hands.
Yeah, forcing your hand into one suit means you're discarding everything else and does limit your draws. Also, the Four-Mon is a Dora, and if you draw 4, 5, 6, now you're incorporating 2 Dora, so maybe thinking about maintaining flexibility in that way. However, the Pinzu draws keep coming in. And it looks like the hand on the left is going to be able to make shapes that incorporate all 3 Doras. So what was going to be North only, or North Dora 1, has turned into a Mangansha that and be able to complete. And
And I'm not sure what Lane's going to be able to do. The hand actually doesn't look too bad, but given the fact that you have already 2 players who have opened their hands, you'd wonder how close you are compared to those other 2.
yeah, across the table, Blaine might be considering calling to open his own hand. And, well, that's another Pinzu draw. Will the Four-Mon come out? If
Yeah,
so,
if you're gonna,
pre-called.
yeah, the thing is that if he's betting on the fact that he's gonna get to the Chinitsu somehow and be faster, the Dora would have to come out sooner rather than later. You don't want that to be your actual tile to deal out into.
We do need to point out that Felipe's hand now has 3 Dora 4-Mon and 2 Dora 6-Mon and the North. That's a Hanemon now.
But he's actually only down to 1 out, although he doesn't know that.
Yeah, the 7, so across the table, an Anko of those tiles in Blaine's hand. And those look pretty secure in there, so probably won't see that come out.
The thing is also, if somehow Brett ends up settling for, like, say, a Tanya of some sort, he'll also be waiting for the 7, so at least as it stands.
Yeah, this could get quite interesting as everyone seeks out that last 7, so. Across the table, now 1 tile away from Tempai.
Uh, yeah, okay, so he does. Yeah, somehow that works because he actually has an Ipeco in there.
So this is Ricci, Tanya, Ipeco for the dealer.
But the problem is, again, you have 2 people waiting on the 7, so, and there's only 1 left.
There's the opportunity to switch the weight for Felipe, but that end up with a 3d10 weight, so you don't take that.
Well, the interesting thing is if somehow Blaine ends up drawing the 7, so I don't imagine him actually discarding it, so you might actually see a con in which both other players would end up being rather sad.
Yeah, Blaine has the opportunity to take Tempai here, denies it twice, does not feel secure discarding the 6-pin apparently, which is understandable given the number of Pinzu that he might suspect is in Brett's hand. Another chance for Tempai here, you can call this and drop the 5, but that's next to the Dora. You can still drop the 6-pin, but that was dodged, so does end up taking that, and now has a weight on the 5-mon only.
Yeah, now if he
But
draws a 7, you're almost guaranteed he's gonna close con that because he wants none of that.
oh,
Oh,
and
there's a
it's
7.
drawn by the player with the largest value, so 12,000 points going Felipe's way, and what a great hand to start this off.
So the early aggression pays off.
Hmm.
Doesn't always, but in this particular case, Felipe, who's new to the league this season, is one of the few new players in this particular pool in B2A.
Hmm.
Gets an early lead, and could look to see if he can add on to it and try to at least early on grab one of the spots to get out and be promoted into B1.
Yeah, and well, it's Christopher's first dealership. Starts with a pair of Hatsu and a pair of the West Wind as well. So with 2 honor pairs, you might be thinking about building Honitsu, but the rest of the tiles didn't seem that conducive to that. There were just a smattering of tiles in the rest of the suits. Really, a lot of it will depend on what the later draws are, and it looks like he's taking more of a balanced approach.
Yeah, and I was gonna say that he's afforded the time to do it looking at the other players' hands right now because there's still some Kanchan Penchan weight sitting around. Probably the closest person might be Felipe, who gets one of his Kanchan weights in the 6-8, drawing the 7-pin.
Is 1 tile
But
away now.
yeah, it's 1 tile away, but it won't be a Pinfu weight. It'll end up being a Shanpon weight unless he ends up drawing one of the 2,
Right.
either the 1-pin or the 8-mon.
But Ricci Dora is not bad. You do have the Dora 4-pin in hand. Oh, here's Tempai. Does declare Ricci right away. So the Shampoo weight, 1-pin 8-mon. And 2 of the 1-pins are in hand. None of the 8-mon have been found, so those 2 are left in the wall.
Yeah, it might come out of Blaine's hand eventually. Well, it depends because he has a 1-2-2. So if he's lucky enough to draw the 3-pin, then Felipe will be down to his 8-mon weight. But
Mhm.
other thing is if for some reason Blaine continues to get Sozu and thinks he has a Chinitsu chance, then all that's coming out. And
Oh,
gets
just
the
Tsumo.
8-mon. Yep.
Ricci Tsumo Dora. And Urasan! Oh my
And
goodness. Well, there's
3
another Hanemon.
on the tile he drew.
Well, that's the way to do it. And so now this is commanding from Felipe, only 2 rounds into things. My goodness. Well, the flow seems to be with a certain player tonight. And well, Blaine's hoping to get a little bit of that flow right now. It's your first chance at dealer, and you've got a pretty good hand. You've got a completed sequence in the Sozu and some good Pinzu shapes. That's 2 Dora now, so this isn't bad. The Monzu isn't bad either. So you're looking for Ricci Pinfu Dora 2.
Yeah, but Felipe's hand's actually looking not bad either. And if you're talking about relative speed here, you can't call, but the shapes are good enough that he might be able to race Blaine to Tempai beforehand. Or
Oh my,
before
but
he.
look at this. Another Dora drawn by Blaine, and this is Ishantem.
It's Ishan 10, but the only way you'd really like it is if you drew that Kanchan 5-mon, because there's no real way you want to wait on that at all. And
Yeah,
actually here, I might have wanted to keep that 7-pin and maybe ditch the 4-mon instead, because you could at least maybe treat the 4-6-7-7 and just treat that as like a 1 run right there, like a 5-6-7 or 6-7-8. And then the 5-so could have easily been ditched instead. Here you'd probably still ditch the 5-so, I would imagine. Yeah.
right. And now this becomes really flexible.
Oh,
If you draw the Pinzu shape, then you can discard the 4 mon and have the 3-sided weight in the Manzu. So this is looking really good. And
Yeah, but
Felipe's
if you're
hand,
gonna do that, you better get rid of the 4 mon now because
you
I
don't want
mean,
to.
even if you draw the 5, what are you gonna do? Drop the 7? It's gonna be the same difference anyways because you're not dropping the door, right? So you might as well. Oh, there's your Ricci, right?
Yeah, that works. So
each.
Ricci Dora 3. And Felipe on the right, who is kind of angling towards Honitsu, now has to think about this and decides immediately, just drop the 5. So no need to deal into this with your incredible 2 Hanuman advantage.
Yeah, there's no need to push here. And I mean, even if he's not pushing, he's the tiles are still pointing him towards some type of tenpai shape.
Right? He's Ishan 10 right now.
Some sort of scary tenpai shape depending upon what he draws.
Indeed. 4 mon safe. And well, it was Brett who'd
Gee,
made a call. It looks like he's angling towards Chinitsu and the Manzu, full flush.
Unluckily for
Ricci.
him, yeah. See, now you got Sana. Is that you got Sana Anko? He
It
didn't even
is.
need to reach. There was
Could
even no
have.
need to. Well, no, he's furry 10. Hold it. Wait a minute.
Yeah,
He's
that's
furry
interesting.
10.
That 8 doesn't deal in.
Uh, is he just thinking that since he's gonna have to draw it himself, and the drawer is part of his weight, that it's just better for him to just push like that? I
I
mean,
wonder.
I can see why, but at the same time, you're like, A, you're already Ishan 10 for Suwango. I mean,
Mhm.
like, okay, that's kind of overkill considering what's going on. But with the big leads you have, is there really a need to necessarily push a furry 10 weight, knowing that you
Oh,
see no Dora?
will he con this? Does
Okay,
not. Good choice. I
I was gonna
think
say.
it would be a little too crazy to con that. But then he might have gotten Rinshan, and who knows?
The 1-mons are still relatively live. There's still 3 of them out there, and there's only
Yeah,
3
Felipe's
tiles
weight
left
is
to go.
dead. So it's all about playing, finding the 1 pin.
And they're all in the wall,
Oh
dead wall.
my. I think we saw that yesterday too in the last broadcast. The weight was the 1 pin and they were all in the wall.
That's unfortunate. I think Felipe probably got a little fortunate there with the fact that um uh he never ended up paying in at all. I think with the I think in that case, because of the furry 10, you might have actually wanted to greed and actually go for the Suanko because then you wouldn't be furry 10.
I agree. And I also noticed that it was a bit of a quick button hit. So I wonder if he maybe just missed the 8 pin that was earlier in the discards. It was in the front in the first row. So as it is, it's Blaine who retains the dealer seat and has a
And
good
has a
starting hand.
it's very quick here. There are no Hatsus out yet though, so I don't know if we'll see him call beforehand. I don't know if he should, if like say the another 1 pin comes out, if he calls that. Although, yeah, I would imagine he's gonna wait and either call one of the Tanya shapes or just wait for the Hatsu to come out whenever it comes out.
Hmm. Yeah, with the Ricci stick, 2 Ricci sticks in the middle, you want to collect those. And so probably if the Hatsu comes out, we'll see a call and not a pass. Looking around the table, there's some opportunities here to fight this. Though to the right, Felipe has potential Sanshoku with a 7, 8, 9. Although that you need 3 sevens there, so that's a little bit difficult. Across the
Whoever I think
table,
was Ishan 10 but decided to punt a possible bad weight because he could have discarded a 4 pin and
yeah, you'd also have to drop one of your pairs there too, so a
no,
little
it wasn't.
awkward.
It's not Ishan 10. Never mind. So I guess he decided with not being Ishan 10, he could afford to drop the Kanchan weight 7, 9 pin.
Yeah, really wants to call the tune, but has opportunity to make 7 pairs too. Well, now that you've drawn another 3, 4, 5 shape, he also has chance for a 3, 4, 5 Sanshoku. So could have been hanging out through the 4 pin for that reason.
It's
And
getting thinner with those 2 5s out, and there's the Hatsu, which I would
oh,
imagine would be called by Blaine. There you go. Now sitting Ishan 10.
his discards are kind of signaling Honitsu here.
Yeah, I would. If I were playing, I would really want to see that 2-so come out or a 3-so call that and then wait on the Pinzu side because nobody would be looking at that side of it.
Right. You'd be very scared to
Um,
drop Sozu.
if he has to call the 2-5 pin, that might give people impetus to. Uh,
You
that's
can make a
not.
switch to Toy Toy here,
You can
but
make a switch. Yeah, if you discard 3-4 pin, it still also maintains the Honitsu look.
mhm. So you really hope to be able to call one of those Sozu and then get the last one pin. And
One
also
pin, yeah.
discarding the 4 pin first allows you to chi and get to Tempai, even if it is the lower value Tempai. And Chris really has to think here. Do you really want to drop Sozu right now? Also, you've got the Dora Haku in your hand.
I would
That's
not call this. There's you would be stuck on a Kanchan 3-so wait again.
yeah. Delaying though makes the other players think, okay, it wasn't that Sozu, but it's definitely a Sozu tile.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Felipe's picked up one of the 7s he needed. Just needs 2 more and then to finish that one Sozu shape with a 1 or 4. Well, this is Tempai, but it's not the value Tempai, but we're getting into the
I mean,
third row
you'd have to take
tiles.
it. You're on row 3. Even if this ends up being a draw, which it almost looks like it is,
Yeah, it
you're better
looks
off that way as opposed to trying to fight for a bigger hand at that point. At this point, and who
Felipe,
knows? You may end up you may get it. Who knows?
Felipe choosing to fight with the South, which had only been discarded once, I think. Oh, no, twice. Deciding it probably isn't a pair weight. And a con from Blaine.
Unfortunately, it reveals one of his outs, so he's actually down to 1 4-so at this point.
And despite looking like it, he can't actually use the 3. We're down to 8 tiles remaining. There's
Oh,
another
now
door
we have a
tile.
temp. Yeah, we have a tempai to the left now with Christopher.
This is value too.
The
3
Hakus are
door.
locked, and that means he's down to 1 Chun left as well. No, the Chun's his weights are completely dead.
Well, we see 2 in hand, 1 in the wall. Where's the 4th, though?
Oh wait, no, that was the one I was counting. Okay, I thought I
Yeah.
accidentally counted it twice. So yeah, there's still 1 live technically.
1. Oh, there's the 4.
There's no way. You can't. You just can't. This late? I mean, I know you want to hold your
It's not
tempai, but
Tempai.
oh no, is
Yeah,
sorry,
good
you're right.
job.
It's not
Good
tempai.
job by
Yeah.
Brett. And the tune was in the dead wall too. So we've seen a lot of weights just locked up there. And Felipe had managed to get Tempai calling the 7 so as well. So 3 Tempai here. And we move to another dealership continuance with still a lot of points in the middle of the table. Blaine with a pair of red dragons can call and try to eat that up, but it's Chris who gets to call first with the north wind. Also has a pair of Hatsu in hand, so you could be
Yeah,
making
it's
2 Han here, plus the Dora.
I would imagine if you're going for speed here, the door is going to go. You could make a play for Honitsu. You could also make a play for Toy Toy as he draws a 2-pin. So it's not like this hand can't be valuable without the Dora. Because
Right.
Yakuhai Toy Toy, that's basically Bogdan. So
There's
yeah,
another another call rather of the Tuso. And across the table, that hand has got pairs, toy dashable pairs, but with 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe you're thinking about using the Dora as another pair, making 7 pairs instead.
yeah. With 2 calls though, it's going to be hard to try to match speed here unless you just get lucky with your draws and start pairing everything.
And perhaps recognizing that Felipe also makes an early call, completes that bad 6-8 shape, and is looking to make Tanyao.
Yeah, everybody's pushing with 2,600 points in the table. Even a 1 Han hand becomes almost like a 3 Han. There's a
There's the
call.
So now
See,
Still each on them.
I would have discarded 4-pin there. I don't know why you're. I mean, like, I understand that you might cheat for that, but um,
The Haku has been cut twice, and so
maybe I don't
it is
know.
rather difficult weight. There goes the four
Yeah,
pin.
see, you ended up cutting it anyways. Because the
Well,
thing is that if for some reason you end up on a Tonki weight, heaven forbid, I mean, being on a hell weight Haku Tonki isn't the worst.
as it is, it's Felipe who calls for Tenpai on the right, chooses the Shampoo weight, 6-mon, 5-pin. A pair of 5 pins locked away in Blaine's hand, has a decision to make now as he's Tenpai to keep the
I
Dora
mean,
or to keep the wider weight.
okay.
Chooses the Dora.
I guess maybe worried about Felipe's hand. I guess.
Yeah, 5. There have been 3 non-Manzu calls, so you think if you're building the hand evenly that he might need a Manzu tile.
Yeah,
No?
unfortunately for Christopher, he's been washing around because he's got furry issues.
Yeah, had the 7-8 shape, but already discarded the 9, so was going to have trouble completing that. And is this Tenpai? It is. Brett managed to find a non-pairs Tenpai. It's a Shampoo weight waiting on the south wind and the 8-pin for
Of
Ricci
which
Dora.
there's, and he's got 3 live tiles
Surprising.
because we don't see the souths.
Yeah, they're all on the wall. And decisions for the other players. How far do you want to push this? 3-mon is a push, but Felipe is so deep in the calling that you can't really fold.
And Christopher is in the same position. There's not really any foldable value there at this point.
With the additional Ricci stick, now even the 1,000 points has become 1,000 points more valuable, so there's even more to fight for here. Opportunity to switch the weight again.
To incorporate the Dora?
Chooses against it. So we see 1 6-mon left in the wall, 2 souths, and an 8-pin left in the wall. So really the dealer has only 1 out, as well as Felipe. But if Brett draws the 6-mon, he'll deal into double roan. Oh, there's a Dora.
Well, I think the 7-mon's going to go here. You're not discarding Dora. Which means now the 5 pins are locked, which means now that you both Blaine and Felipe are now down to their Monzu weights. That's south. That's a Shanpai. You gotta get out of that.
Oh no. Well, that's going to deal in. So Ricci Dora, and we'll see if there's any Uda. None found, but there's enough Fu in the hand to make 250, 3,200 plus the 3 Ricci sticks and the 2 Homa for a 6,800 pickup. And that boosts Brett over Christopher now. As we move into East 4, and it's Felipe who has pulled ahead with non-dealer hands. We'll see what kind of progress he can make as the dealer. His starting hand is, well, it's not the strongest with all the Kanchan shapes to fill. And the
But
early
nobody else is
Hatsu.
really looking fast either, which is why you see Blaine possibly making that early Hatsu call, because I don't really, looking around the table, like the only person that might have anything fast is Brett.
Yeah, to the right, there's a lot of inside tiles, so you can make Tanya there. You can also, if you were to draw a Dora 6-mon, that's easily incorporated into the hand. As we see Felipe draw one of those. And we might see Felipe turn this into a Tanya type hand as well. There's also potential for 5, 6, 7 Sanshoku. And well, another 2-pin is great for Brett, so this really is looking like Tanya now.
Brett would like to connect one of those other, he did like the 6 right there, and now he
Just
should
like
just
that.
get rid of the Monzu side. I don't know if I would have gotten rid of the 2 first. I mean, like I guess I know I could have incorporated the Dora with the 5, but your shapes are pretty much set, and your Monzu are your loose tiles, so might be better off to have discarded in the reverse order just to make sure you got rid of the one tile that's closer to the Dora out of your hand first.
Yeah, I think, it depends on how dangerous you feel it's going to be. So far, it doesn't look like anybody is discarding unusually in the sense that I think they're going to make an early Ricci. So I'm satisfied hanging on to it for a little bit longer, but once I get an indication that dealer or the player who is called is getting close to Tenpai, then I might consider getting rid of it. I might have even held it one turn longer here, although it is starting to get to the second row. And the other reason is that you've got a two pair shape right now. You could turn that 5 into a 5, 6, 7, a 5, 6, which would be a Nyamen shape, or this 4 indeed would also be a Nyamen shape. You could get rid of one of your pairs. As it is, this is a full commitment to the Tanyao with the Pinzu shapes. And Felipe is getting close now.
It's interesting because there's a hint of Sanshoku Ipeko in there.
Yeah, you draw 6, so 6, so you can drop 7 pin, 7 pin, or 2 pin, 2 pin.
There's a hint. We'll see if he actually gets the tiles, but
Yeah, Blaine is one tile away from Tenpai on the left. Had a choice as to which Kanchan to go for. And unfortunately, it looks like, well, it wouldn't have mattered because it's called by Felipe, who's now Ishanten as well.
Tully decides he can't wait any longer and will just be happy with 1,500 points. Maybe,
Yeah,
maybe 1,000
got
all. Well, yeah, maybe 1,000 all now. Yeah.
we've got Tanyao Dora and potential Sanshoku on the 7. So if the 7 does come out, that'd be 2,000 all if you were to draw it, or 5,800 if someone were to discard it. And unfortunately for Brett, hasn't been able to find Tenpai. Had the opportunity to call the 5 so, but declined it, thinking he was close enough to potentially be able to declare reach. Now that your dealer has called, I'm thinking you want to just speed up your own hand as well.
I guess I wonder why they're worried about the East drop.
East is safe, probably thinking about the construction of the hand, and knows they want to discard the East, but trying to use a little bit of time to prepare for the future. Okay, here's a chance for Brett to call for Tenpai again. Oh, but it's called instead by Blaine, who will grab Tenpai on the 5 so. So Blaine's hand is just the dragon only, plus Adora, who did pick that up a couple turns
Yeah,
ago.
obviously can't blame him for that considering how close we are to the end of the hand here.
Of course. Decision for Chris now. Chooses to discard the 1 mon, so making Tanya with Adora. Oh, and that 5 will deal in. So
But
Blaine
it's minimal damage, really. 2,000 points is small change at this point. Felipe still got a big lead as we head into the South round.
All right, so Blaine is the closest competitor to getting over 30,000 as we move to Brett's dealership.
And before we even switch, we look at Felipe. He's got a pretty decent calling hand.
Yeah, look at that. Already calls the Hatsu. Has the pair of Wests in hand as well. Looks like a Honitsu from my vantage point. Although you are technically Tenpai right now.
Yeah, you are.
Do you even want this though? I mean, I guess you're in
Why
first place.
not? I mean, you're in first place.
Yeah.
It's 1,000 points. It's 1,000 points, but who cares?
But
I
you can
mean, you can
switch
make it
right
more
here.
now
You
if
could.
you're gonna greed.
Oh, I would have been greedy. Push
I
for
think
the
there's just no need to really.
Itsu Honitsu Green Dragon would be Mangan.
I think if maybe he had gotten something like the 6 or something like that,
What about the
he might
7
have
so?
considered it.
No.
I mean, doesn't really fit, right?
Yeah, it looks like he's
It, it
committed.
it does it is a Sozu, but it's not like as if he can quickly incorporate that. Like I said, if he had gotten like the 6, yeah, then by all means you can go in because you can almost call anything and be Tenpai at that point.
Yeah, even with the 7, so you retain the 7, so you drop the 3 mon. You are drawing anything between 5 and 9 for Tenpai. You could even call the West for Tenpai, although you'd like to switch that weight up. Here, switches the weight and is not planning to win on the 3 mon, but hoping to draw another Sozu tile. You might end
Yeah,
up with some Fruity Ten
interesting
issues,
making
though.
that show. Maybe.
Yeah, I like the decision. Well, I would have committed to the Honitsu earlier, but this is
Yeah,
like,
that's the thing. If you're doing it now, you probably should have committed it earlier.
This is the way to get to Honitsu while still maintaining tempai all the way through. And so Ricci for Christopher, waiting on the 5-mon and 8-so for just Ricci.
Yeah, see, if the thing is, like, if you're gonna push that hand, I would have almost even made that call.
Oh
It
my.
works out, but like I would have considered even making like the, you know, some
This
type of like, actually
6-so
no,
call, yeah. You'd be waiting
yeah,
on
6-0
Tanki
call, and
there,
then yeah, but I mean
but you got
it's
the Honitsu
Tonki,
now.
it's Tonki to the Suji, right? So
Yeah. Yeah, I could totally see that happening. As it is, the 7-mon did deal in, and so that desperation Tonki weight ended up winning. And so we moved to Chris's dealership, and I'm loving this hand. I was gonna say potential Itsu the Mansu, but your shapes are so good, you're probably not even gonna get that.
I don't know. The Monzu, like you do see the Itsu there, but it feels a little choppy right now. I mean,
Yeah,
you don't necessarily mind not having your pair, but uh, this is where I might be a little bit more squeamish about it.
yeah, it definitely feels like you're gonna find Tempai on for Pinfu, Tanyao, or even Sanshoku in the 6, 7, 8s, or really anything
Also,
before you get that. So you can call
also,
this.
I don't even know if this is if Chris has got the or Christopher's got the fast hand, because Felipe's got something decent across as well,
Yeah, let's take a look at that. 6, 6, 1, 2, 3 shape already completed. Now
and
completing
just
the
through
6,
the
7,
8,
8.
so to
Ishan
boot.
10 right
So
there. So dealer and the hand across are both one tile away from Tempai. Bit of a race to see who can get there first. Of course, Felipe's got the perfect Ishan Tem, and Chris is looking at a headless shape. You still are looking for the pair here. And neither of the
yeah,
players
and
has the door
it's a
for.
bit of an awkward pair weight too.
Oh my, look at this.
Yeet.
It's Blaine who gets there first, drawing into the Ipeco, declares Ricci waiting for the south or the 8-mon. For Ricci, Ipeco, Dora 2, this is Mangan. Plus, if you get Sumo the south, you're looking at Hanemon.
And one of the Souths is out, so it's not a pure Shanpai in that case.
Yeah, we might see that come out, especially from one of these other two players who's already looking like they've
No,
got.
Felipe's out. I mean, he
Oh, yep,
discarded
he just
6-mon or 6-0.
says,
I don't think he was gonna fight anyways.
yeah, it's down to Chris now.
Well, I don't know. Brett might be fight. I don't know. Brett discarded the 8.
Oh, that
I was gonna say
call
I
indicates.
think he's fighting, but it's a little odd in the way he's going. Oh, there's a South.
Oh, that's got to come
Oh.
out. And this is going to be a massive hand. Will we see Ura,
Well, it's
Ricci,
double
Ipeco,
Yakuhai.
Yakuhai? We are in the south round, so that does make it Hanemon. I forgot that we were already in the south round. And so
Mm-hmm.
this is another big hit for Chris, who falls down to 2,000 points. And Blaine now moving up in the leaderboard over 30,000 points and approaching Felipe's position atop the standings right now. This is, of course, this would have to be a little bit of a dealer run to get there or a direct hit, but there's chances now.
3 pairs, 2 of them inside, or 2 of the middle pairs. The rest is a little messy. I'm not
Yeah.
quite sure what to make of it. Meanwhile, that Felipe could hit the go button if he gets that red dragon to come out sooner rather than later.
Mm-hmm. And look at the hand across, too. Brett starting with a smattering of honor tiles and an Anko of the one so.
Still seems far away. I mean, like, there are Honitsu possibilities, but it's going to take some extra work, and I'm just not sure he's going to have the time for it.
Yeah, especially with these draws. Felipe pulling in the 7-pin, now discarding the 2-1 shape. And when your opponents start to discard penchants like that, you have the feeling that their other shapes must be really good, or at least are improving faster than yours are.
Yeah, if Blaine wants any help, like, if it's not going to be the pairs, he's got to draw something like the 8-so or something like that. He's got to fill in these terrible weights if he wants to make up ground and try to continue his dealership.
Yeah, unfortunately for
I can't
Blaine,
imagine.
even the nice shapes are overlapping, like the 2-3 mon and the 5-5-6 shape. They both require a 4 mon, and so it is really awkward for the dealer hand. There's the
Yeah, there should be
chew.
a call.
Now one tile away from tempai for Felipe, just the tune only.
Which is perfectly fine.
Yeah. Remove the dealership from your closest competitor, and you're completely happy with that. Tempai
Now you're
now.
tempai, yeah.
Brett's working his way over, calls the north wind. One tile away from tempai there.
Oh, that's another pair. You're already at the end of the first row. I'd actually entertain going for a G-Toy.
Yeah. And Brett can call, does con, reveals 6-pin, which doesn't help him. That helps
That was
Blaine, and that
Blaine.
helps Felipe a bit too.
Blaine's gonna need some help though. He's gotta get another pair somewhere. I can't call this.
Yeah, Toy Toy's so out of reach.
Okay, so that's not a pair, but you're gonna you should ditch 7-9 so then?
Oh,
I guess
interesting.
maybe you're worried about across from you, but
Yeah, even the 5, we're dropping one of your pairs if you're trying to make a normal hand. The 4-4-6-6 could turn into Ipecos, so
oh, that's
well, you can drop the 1.
yeah, you can drop the 1, but you're kind of stuck.
Well, Brett, with a better Ishanten now, has the Anko of Southwind.
That's another pair. I mean, you gotta consider it now.
Yeah. Oh, but
Too late though.
just draw it, so it's a 2,000 point hand for Felipe, tuned with the extra revealed Dora. And
this should be the end of the game. It should be the end of the game because Felipe can just be no 10 here and the game's over. So he just needs to not pay in and hopefully either or
start with an amazing hand and
cut off a big hand if he sees one. But
right. This is potential for Sanshoku with a Dora 8. You do need a couple 7s, but we saw him the last time he had that type of hand. We saw those get drawn in, so
it's true. But again, we're not necessarily looking to be tempai in this situation here.
Of course, if you recognize that there's danger, you don't want to deal in. You want to keep the points that you have. Now, if you think you can, you still want to be progressing your hand because if you can make a Mongon as dealer, why not, right? But you do also want to keep safety in mind. And well, to the right,
Yeah, I mean,
this hand looks really good too.
Christopher is the one that has like a dangerous big hand, but it still is going to need some time for it to develop. I mean,
Has the Anko West Wind.
you would need like a bunch of honors still to make that work, really.
Yeah, there's potential for, if you start to pair up those honor tiles, then maybe you drop the 7-pin, 8-pin, make Honitsu on top of the West Wind and the dragon, White Dragon pair.
Yeah, there's not a lot you can do though trying to make up this type of deficit.
Yeah, Felipe hasn't drawn anything yet.
Well, that helps.
So there's another Anko.
I mean, you're dropping 7-8 pin at this point, yeah?
Yeah, with that deficit, you have a chance. Looks like he's going to go for it. And the 4-pin draws Felipe.
Well, I don't think Christopher has a choice because he has to assume that Felipe is going to be no 10 this hand.
Right. Well, you can think about just going for the cheaper hand, keeping the 7-8 nice Yamen weight. But, if you've got a chance for a Mongon.
Well, even a Mongon won't put him in third. There you go.
Hey, there's a pair of the North Wind. Now you shine
the south, unfortunately, is locked.
Yeah, it doesn't. We have opportunity for more than just Mongon here. And, well, Felipe still seeking one more tile for Tempai. It really wants it to be the 7 so too, but all of those have been drawn by the other players. Could call this, but chooses not to.
I didn't think he'd call that. Like, again, no need to open your hand. Put yourself in a vulnerable position.
Well, speaking of putting yourself in a vulnerable position.
Like I mean, maybe he thinks he needs the points, but I mean,
well, first reach as dealer definitely puts pressure on the rest of the table, and the Dora is called by Brett, who now needs the South or needs to get rid of the South winds and find Tanyao.
I would have actually kept that 9 so if you're going to push anyways, because you're not. Yeah, I mean, it's Tempai, but it's what is double Yakuhai Honitsu?
Double Yakuhai
That's it.
Honitsu.
That's
Yeah.
still a Mongon. Had he kept the 9, so discarded the 6, he could have added Chanda to that.
Well, that would still.
I mean, if you're gonna push anyways, right?
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah, on the left we saw a reach from Blaine, waiting for just the 3-pin. Has a Suji trap, but there's only one 3-pin left in the wall. And the big question is how Brett's going to handle this hand. You can call this, and now you've got Sanshoku out, so you can win on the 5-so. But all the 5-sos are locked up in the Ricci hands. So no one with a winning tile, except for Blaine, who needs the last 3-pin. And no one else can use it in their hands, so if it is drawn, we could see it come out. It does look fairly safe here.
that's
Suji.
interesting. Like if you're gonna push for the if you're gonna push for the hand, I thought Chris might actually make that con call.
Could switch the weight.
No.
Because that's the last tile that deals into Haite Dora 3. It would not have dealt in otherwise. Oh my goodness, the South, which was once discarded, was actually the safer tile there. And really unfortunate for Chris. If only he was not the last draw, would have been perfectly fine there. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, we do have to say that was a great game from Felipe, who just started off strong and coasted after the early Haneman. It looked like after that, finished with a plus 42.5. Blaine making it over 30,000 as well with plus 12.5.
Brett
And
got
Brett,
over 30,000.
yeah, just squeaking in with that high-tay discard. Well, plus 0.8. That's not nothing. And unfortunately for Chris, negative 55.8 in fourth. We
Yeah, and that
should see another game.
unfortunately shifts him down to the middle of the standings. Yeah, I'm sure Brett's happy with a 0.8. Like, you know, my second round games are finished here in B2A, and I ended up with 4/3. The first 3 of them were combined. The first 3/3 I had were for a combined total of 8 points.
Mm.
and then unfortunately in the 4th game I timed out and paid into a double run, so I ended up with a minus 19 in my last game. But
oh no.
yeah, I was looking at it, it's like I was like, well, what do I tell you discard? And I'm like, oh, I'm out of time. And then it does a pause, and I'm like, well, hopefully it's just 1 run. And then it became 2, and I'm like, well, that's I still finished
Well,
3rd. I finished with 4/3, but I could have had one of the rare occasions where I could say I finished 3rd in all 4 games and still had a positive score.
yeah, that is actually extremely rare. In this case, that the Ricci sticks plus the Mongon moves Brett out from a negative, what would that be? Just below 30,000, so -8 minus an extra 5, so negative 13 to positive 0.8. That's a great
Yep.
pickup. I know
So
Brett jokes about being in the negative game, but a positive finish is always a welcome result. And so in the couple minutes we have before our next game starts, we get a quick look here at the top 4 from each of the divisions. Anything stand out to you here?
a little bit, like, I don't know. It was talked about a little bit before about Ada, for instance, and who's in B2A. She's now sitting in 2nd.
Hmm.
She had a huge negative score during the inaugural beta league, but if you looked at her individual games, like, it actually wasn't that terrible despite her being at like negative 200, given her placements. And so the fact that she's turned it around partially against me because I had to face her in the first round.
Mm.
This is more of the Ada that I'm used to seeing in our club. A1, I don't really see any, like, it's, again, all these are all early days, but A1, I don't see any surprises there. You know,
No one
eight
really jumping
was
out
it?
in A1, but there's still
Hmm?
many more games to go there. Yeah, nobody really
Yeah,
pulling out too far ahead.
B2B, the pool B and C in the B2 divisions. They're all fairly new. They're all new people, so I'm not quite as familiar with them. Um,
We've
like I
seen
know
some
that
exciting games from those pools though, and
Haru is, I believe, from Virginia Tech, which I only found out recently had a pretty decent sized mahjong club. Clinton filled in a little bit for us during the inaugural beta league and seems to be doing well and in a decent position to promote out. Um, who else?
yeah. Well, actually, I wanted to since you mentioned the Virginia Tech Club, there's a lot of clubs around the U.S. that are hidden for a lot of people. I'm always finding a new club. It seems just randomly that I didn't even know existed. Virginia being one of them. There's clubs in the Midwest. There's clubs in both the coasts. There's Texas groups. There's a lot of mahjong being played in the U.S. that isn't necessarily visible to, especially new players who are around the country. And so, if anybody here is watching and not part of a club, and you're interested in finding a club, feel free to mention that. We can see if there's any clubs in the area and maybe even post some resources. I think there's a map out there that's got a lot of the clubs, and well, it looks
And
like.
the other thing quickly before we get into this game here, which is
Mhm.
underway, we're also getting to the point now where we're having in-person tournaments again. So even though this is the American Ricci Mahjong League, there is a tournament up in um, Montreal
Mm.
slated for June, and I hear New York's trying to get one ready for sometime in the summer months, although that's not official yet. So uh, looks like everything is slowly getting back to normal, at least tournament-wise. So if you're interested in playing in a tournament, there's a lot of the regular clubs out there send people to tournaments, our club included. But if you're, just some random person out there, you want to look up the Montreal tournament or the New York Ricci Nomi tournament once it gets announced, there's opportunities for you to go and actually play in person in a tournament type setting. So, hopefully we'll see more of those on the calendar as the months go by.
Yeah, really looking forward to those. And well, as we get into the second hanchan of this table, the fourth game total, but the second today, looks like dealer starting out with an Anko of the Hatsu, 2 tiles away from Tenpai, including Adora. A call made to the right, it's Felipe who calls the east and is 2 tiles, 1 tile away there. Just needs to find a pair or complete the 4-6 so shape. Is anybody else close here?
Not particularly.
Yeah, Brett's
Yeah,
kind of getting
there's
there across the
yeah.
table.
Christopher's got pairs.
Mm,
He'd have to continue drawing pairs, I think, with considering the shapes that he has. But unfortunately, he's also discarded a couple now with the one pin in the south, so he's probably at this point too slow. We'll see if he gets lucky and gets another couple.
yeah, well, Brett just
Um,
picked up another Dora tile and now has perfect Ishan 10 for Pinku Dora 2. Tenpai declares the Ricci, 1-4 so wait. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So only 1 tile left in the wall, surprising for a Nyam and wait. And it's the last of the 4 so. But of course, the pressure is now on the other players. How to fight this, and a lot on Chris, who's holding 3 of the winning tiles.
I think I'd be more concerned about Blaine dealing in depending upon what he gets.
Well, he drew the last one and now has
Well,
a
that's
pair
Felipe
of
that drew the
those.
last four, so right.
Yeah, Felipe,
So
yeah. Who
yeah,
seemed to be
so
folding.
now Blade is safe. Like I don't, now that four so that he has looks pretty well set.
And the 3 so looks like a bit of a push, so we might see a dealer fight here. Which your Ishan 10, you've got Adora and an Anko of Dragons. Do you con this?
I think you discard. I can see why you don't. I might have discarded the 7-pin first and hedged.
Yeah, 7-pin Suji.
7.
Green Dragon guaranteed.
Because you're going to discard 7-pin now. Wait, what?
Yeah, that's an interesting decision.
Wait,
You lose your pair this way.
where's your pair? See, now unfortunately he's at risk. Like, he's gonna have to discard one of the, unless he's able to call the 2/5. So he's gonna have to discard one of those to be Tenpai on a Tonki pair.
Well, fortunately, he does have some options. We know the 3-so is safe. We know the 4 and 5-pin are safe. So even though we don't know about the 4-so, that'd probably be your last choice.
Yeah, but like, you just made this a lot harder on yourself, I think.
Yeah, I think going back to that. Oh, now you have that decision.
Well, you don't
know
have a
the
decision
3-so
because
is
you'd be
safe.
furry 10 otherwise.
Yeah. So of course the right decision is the obvious one, and it's a 4-so Tonki for Blaine. Of course, we could see
I
that there are
mean,
none of those left in the wall.
yeah, and unfortunately, he's kind of deadwalled himself at this point, in the sense that he probably could have had an easier way out of here, but he's just gonna have to live with the Tenpai payments, which, I mean, I guess isn't bad, but
You'd much rather have won the hand outright. And well, it's 1,500 for Blaine and 1,500 also for Brett. We'll get another dealer round. And looking at this hand, not bad. You've got that Sozu shape, which looks pretty good. You've got a 5-6 Yampen in the Manzu. And after discarding some of these honor tiles, we'll see if this turns into your standard Ricci hand.
yeah, I think Brett's got the. Nobody looks fast, particularly here. Brett might be the closest.
Yeah, I kind of like Felipe's hand as well. Wow, pulling in that 5, so now you've got a beautiful shape in the in the Sozu.
Yeah, but that door is just sticking out like a sore thumb, unless he manages to pair that up.
Completes the Sozu shape and probably is going to hang on to the door for a little bit. Well, just as I say that, discards it.
Yeah, I mean, either you're gonna keep it and make it your Tonki, or you're gonna hope to draw it somehow. And I mean, you're already sitting. You could be sitting in a pretty good Tenpai shape if you don't hold on to it. So it makes sense to discard it.
Yeah, perhaps if you don't already have the pair of 4-pin, you would hang on to that longer. But with the pair already in hand, we do see it come out. And really seems to be locking that pair and declining the acceptance of the 5.
Why aren't you discarding the Tumon here? I don't get that.
Must want a wider tile
I
acceptance
mean,
in the
are you
Manzu,
thinking
but
Sanshoku? Because that's far out considering what you have. Yeah, you're gonna discard the Tumon anyways. I mean,
well, it works
not that it
out.
mattered in the end, but I mean, order wise.
I personally would have kept the 5-pin a little bit longer, but this works out great. You've got Ricci Pinfu, you've got potential for Ipeco and the Manzu, just waiting for the 6-9, where the 9-mon would be worth a little bit more. Blaine draws another pair, up to 4 now. It's not really where you want to be against a reach.
No, unfortunately, like if you were remotely entertaining like a cheat or anything like that, there's no way he could drop the Manzu, which I'm not sure I would keep for Chitoy, but you in this particular situation with the Ricci, you just can't you can't discard those.
And we see there are 3 of the tiles left in the wall. Well, now 2, as the last 9-mon is drawn by Chris. Now that the 8-mon is revealed to be safe, we might see that come out of Blaine's hand. The Haku is also safe.
Sure.
There
Yeah, I was
are
gonna say the Hawk is safe too, so
there's some tiles of safety. If you're concerned that someone else might declare reach, you might drop the 8-mon first. And well, another pair. Starts with a 5.
well, the 8 being safe at least. Oh, there's a 9.
And that leaves Brett's hand. So Ricci Pinfu,
Yeah.
and that is the Ipeco plus Uda 2 for a Mangan. Well, it always feels nice when you hit those Uda.
Oh, that's unfortunate for Brett.
And we move
I'm
to
not sure what his hand looked like beforehand. If the 9 really was was really one of his only other options to drop, because I mean, I guess with the 8 mon being discarded, you might think it might be safe, but really it isn't.
yeah, that 8 had come out after the reach, and I think it was a 7-9 shape in the Manzu there, so it wasn't as if you saw any more than what was on the table. As it is, it's Chris who is dealer with an Anko of 6 mon, 7-9 shape as well, has one of the
Hatsu's
Dragon Dora.
gonna go though, in which then Blaine's gonna call that.
Yeah, if that ever leaves his hand, Blaine will be looking at the Mangan, and this is pretty good for Blaine. You've got a backup pair. Oh wow, the 8 draw by Chris though, and easy
Yeah, now
Shanten
yeah, Chris could actually enter. Yeah, you probably would even entertain having a Dora Tonki wait.
for sure. In a league where there aren't any red 5s, it is a little bit harder to find value, and so we see a lot of
That
times handing up the
is.
Dora. It could have chosen the 1-3 pin weight, but
You could
instead,
have, but
yeah, sought
I
out
mean,
a little extra value.
it's Dora Tonki. Unfortunately, none have been discarded, so it's gonna look a little suspicious or sus, I guess you'd call it. But
Yeah,
um,
Blaine taking his time to think about this one. With the 2
I
Dora in
mean,
hand,
what
you really want to push.
and what the heck does Felipe have across?
That's a lot of honor tiles, but none of them are Yakuhai just yet. We've got the west pair, which is potential. But we've seen Felipe a lot of times choose to play safety here. And well, that's another Anko drawn. So this is actually one tile away from Tempai with a Sun Anko chance.
Yeah, is that. Wait, you can't read that. Oh,
A
it's a 2.
call,
Okay, never
yeah, a
mind.
call for Brett as well. So one tile away from Tempai there for just Tanyao, but potential Toy Toy.
Yeah, Blaine looks out. I can see why. I think I personally could have still pushed the 9 pin, but there's your road is still rather thin, even if you wanted to fight.
Mm-hmm. Brett really committing to the Toy Toy option here. And we've seen in previous games Brett fighting for that Yaku option, but will not take it. That doesn't really help.
That does.
Yeah, we saw Felipe discard the West-West, so not willing to fight super aggressive, but still finds another Ishan Tem. Of course, the last
Yeah,
Green Dragon,
that shouldn't probably stopped is that stop Brett for now.
there's one left in the wall, and also one of the Green Dragons left in the wall.
Quite amazing we haven't actually seen that Green Dragon come out just yet. You think the question would have had to been posed to somebody.
Well, there's the
Well,
last
there's Lost
Chun.
Red Dragon, but he's not fighting for the hand, so
It's gonna be one of those situations where everyone's got that awkward dragon stuck in your hand, and well, Brett decides to push it actually.
that's weird, but doesn't get punished for it.
Yeah, well, after drawing the 7 so that had already been discarded, so you knew it was safe, but maybe thinking less about Toy Toy and going for just making Tanya now.
Interesting that Felipe is trying to push for a Tempai here.
Well, this is the last draw, and that is Tempai for Brett, and the last draw discards the
Yeah,
safe 7.
because I'm not sure what the con for Felipe was for, really, unless he was trying to make Tempai himself.
He was good. He was close, and well, I was looking at Felipe's hand before it switched, and it looks really good. That's Ishanten already. It's Tempai. That's a double reach.
Waiting on
Discards
the
door to do
7
so.
mon. Now, with a
Yeah.
double reach, mostly, with no information, you just have to play your hand normally. Because you obviously have nothing to go on. like it for Christopher, I could have with no information, I could have even entertained trying to go for some type of Chanta hand based upon the shapes that he had, but he punted the one or second turn,
Mm.
so that option quite isn't there anymore. I mean, he'll still take a Yakuhai if he can get it, but
Yeah, Chris himself is one tile away from Tempai.
yeah,
Oh,
this is the thing though, is that when you have a double reach, it's kind of a double-edged sword because since everybody has no other information to go off of, you're almost free to push for whatever hand you have because there's no other option,
hmm.
and you're liable to get caught, which is odd to say, but oh, never
Well,
mind.
just draw it yourself. So reach Itsumo, or double reach Itsumo, and no Ura, but that's still going to be 1,000, 2,000 hands, plus
Which
the six that
is
were already in the pot.
relatively speaking for a double reachy is minor, all things considered.
Yeah, no other door in hand, no Ura. So it's Felipe who's pulled out in front as we move to East 3. Brett is our new dealer with a potential 678 Sanshoku and also has a Dora 7 Mon in hand. You could also just make a normal Pinfu type hand. To the right, Felipe is looking to make Ricci here. There's some reasonable shapes, but just not any value outside of the 7.
Yeah, everything looks kind of slow here. I mean, even though Blaine, for instance, Toyman can call the tune the Red Dragon, the rest of the shapes don't look appealing, so it's going to be a little bit slow going here unless people can get some good draws.
And to the left, it looks like Chris is also making a standard hand as well. So really, it will depend on these early draws. And Brett could also has the opportunity to make 7, 8, 9 Sanchoku instead. I'm sure that's in the back of his head, but it's definitely not guaranteed by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, Blaine's the one that's getting the draws right now.
Yeah, look at that. Still has the pair of red dragons, but I wonder if he will be willing to call.
Yeah, see, I'm not
So
sure about that 9 discard. I think I might have discarded 9 Mon. I don't know. I felt like that might have been a better option. I'm not quite sure why.
it seems both are probably leaving the hand eventually. I don't see a 7, 8, 9 Sanchoku per se. And, well, 5 is a good pickup.
I mean, now you discard 8. What? I
Oh,
would have discarded 8 Mon there.
yeah, this is an interesting decision. I wonder.
Like, you could either discard 8 Mon, or if you want to try to get more value, you get rid of the Red Dragon and hope for like some type of Pinfu or
Mhm.
uh Tanya shape. Hope, knock on wood, if you can get depending upon your low Monzu, but
Yeah, I think this
that's
is
that
a decision from Blaine to try to incorporate the Dora 7 Mon in hand. Um, there are other ways of doing it that also keep the 6, 7. It's just not necessarily as
you
efficient.
should be calling this. You don't.
And
Yeah, you're already mid second row.
yeah, this
Like,
has slowed the hand down a little bit.
if you're not getting close to Tempai at this point, you're trying to push any further without like accelerating your hand through calls, you're probably behind.
And we see a Tempai already to the right. It's Felipe who's found 7 pairs Tempai waiting for the 3, so can switch it. Well, you've already just discarded the West, so
My guess is he's not switching.
yeah, you do want, getting Tanyao with that would be nice as well. You do have the Dora pair as well, so Tanyao, 2 Dora, 7 pairs. That's a Mangan.
Yeah, and actually, thankfully for Brett, he might actually be saved here because that he does have an extra 3 out there. Interesting, you switch to the 8. But yeah, see now with Brett, he can make that call, go for Tanya, and look, Felipe's outs are dead.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that decision was made based off the 9-7 discard, maybe thinking it looks a little bit safer. A lot of the 9s all the 9s are on the table, and 2 of the 7s. So perhaps thinking it's hard to use the 8, but when you draw an uncle like Brett has, it's actually quite easy to use them. And Well, it's Blaine who's chasing now, waiting for the
Waiting
7 mon.
on that 7 mon he's tunnel visioned on, of which all of those are dead too. So
There are none in the wall, yeah.
unless Christopher can actually build anything, looks like we're pretty much headed to a draw.
Yeah, 5 tiles remaining. It's hard to see that happening.
Now there's a Tempai.
Brett now waiting for the 6-pin, 7-pin. 1 7-pin left in the wall, but
And
cannot
it'll
find
stay
it.
there.
1,000 all to the 3 who are Tempai.
Yeah, like I said, that's a case where you maybe you're looking for value and you want that to incorporate that Dora, but it really constricts your flexibility in your hand that way.
Well, moving to another repeat for Brett, or this time for Brett. We've got a pair, 3 pairs in the Pinzu, and, well, nothing really else going on in that hand. A pair of Dora, 5 so in the hand to the right for Felipe. Reasonable shapes there too. You do have that penchant, the 1-2 penchant, but you're actually looking pretty good outside of that. Across the table, this is looking like a very normal hand. Really would love to draw the Dora tile.
Well,
Could even make 2, 3, 4
he's got a couple
Sancho.
Conchan weights that he's got to deal with. So I think if you're looking at anybody, it's just the person who just called the tunes in terms of getting a hand put together quickly.
Well, that's Tapai. So waiting for the 5-pin for now. There's opportunity for that weight to improve. And this would just be tune only, but there are 2 Ricci sticks in the pond, so Chris wouldn't mind snapping those up as well. And the dealer hand
Dealer's hand is awkward.
Yeah, still hasn't made the progress he's looking for. Blaine's still got those awkward shapes. The 9-7 cut might be thinking about potentially turning this into a tiny in the future. You can call this if your aim is to make Sanshoku and you think you're behind. We have seen Blaine a little bit hesitant to call. Does choose to do so this time. And discards the 1 pair, so but the 5-pin comes out. Yeah, did not fit the hand for Brett, and so it's Chris with the quick win. And we'll move on to East 4, Felipe's dealership. And, well, looking around the table, looks like Felipe's got a fairly standard hand trying to make Ricci here. The 8-9 penchant is a little bit of a struggle.
Yeah, it's
Right.
looking like a struggle for everybody, really. If you just take a cursory glance around, you've got honor tiles that don't fit. You've got, some Conchan weights. It's another slow going, I think, for most this early on here.
Yeah, you've got a nice shape in the Sozu on the right, and you've just paired up the Haku, but a penchant here, a couple Kanchan shapes, and it's just looking awkward. Interesting.
Well, I mean, he might be able to work a Sanshoku in there, and there's another Dora. I was gonna say for Blaine, given the prior hand and being fixated on the 7 Mondora, I would have imagined that he would have held on to that 1-2 pin shape longer than normal.
Yeah, I
Here,
mean,
considering you have the 2 Dora already, I'm not sure you'd even want to keep the 2 pin, because even if you draw the 3, it's not like you're ditching the Dora, I would imagine.
right. We saw the 4-pin discard instead, probably aiming for that Sanshoku. And now that the second door is drawn, we'll just kind of float either option. They discarded the 1-3 shape, so at this point, yeah, you're probably discarding the 2-pin.
See, the thing is, I'd almost discard the 2 pin here early, because if I end up on a Shanpo weight, let's say with the Haku and the 1 pin, and I'm able to declare Ricci, that early 2 pin might show that I'm not waiting for it.
Yeah, 4-pin, 2-pin
whether
early.
or not they'd actually opponents would discard the door is another story. But if you end up in that shape, having discarded the 2-pin earlier rather than later, because you're not going to use it.
As it is, if you discard it to declare Ricci, the opponents are going to think, well, why were you hanging on to that 2-pin after discarding the 4 so early?
Yeah,
Maybe you
exactly.
were holding on to Dora there, and they might be a little bit more wary of that. Well,
Yeah.
Felipe's been pulling this hand together. This is one tile away from Tempai. If you want to get rid of that Dora, still hanging on to it.
Yeah, I don't know. It depends if Blaine can get Tempai here, that might be proved to be Felipe's detriment, but we'll see who's faster.
Yeah, Felipe does need the 7 mon, and it looks like all of them are being used up in the other hands, and so it's looking kind of awkward. Now drawing the 3, we might even see a switch, swapping the 8-9 for the 1-3.
Yeah,
Indeed
see,
does
and now
so.
the foot shoes on the other foot, because now if Blaine doesn't get rid of that 2-pin and Felipe gets Tempai, now who's got the problem?
Well, Haka comes out, and Blaine can call that for
I would
Tempai.
imagine the 2-pin's got to be discarded now. If you don't,
Yep, you're Tempai
okay,
now,
there you
so
go.
5-8
Yeah.
mon. Looks like 4 of those left in the wall.
Oh,
Comes out of Felipe's hand for Haku Dora
that's a
too.
decent sized win right there. Yeah.
Yeah, puts you over 30,000. Also hits the player in first, so you've got chances of taking first place yourself. And well, look at this dealer hand for Blaine. You've got 2 completed shapes in the Manzu and a completed shape in the Pinzu. You are 1 tile away from Tempai. Just need a
A great
pair.
Tempai. Oh, you're gonna con that, aren't you?
I wonder if he's thinking about the Chinitsu options. Does call the con, and now that's a no baton wait if you need a pair. Discards the 7 for now.
I would probably have waited. I would have might have discarded the Haku, because if you're able to show, like, say a Manzu Honitsu of some sort, if you're able to disguise that and wait for 6-9 pin, that'd be a lot better.
The awkward thing is you're more likely to draw the 6-9 pin for Tempai than the 3, right?
Right, but I mean, like, at the same, but what I mean is that you could have discarded the Haku, for instance.
Yeah, and it seems like Blaine wants to hang on to that. Across the table, we see a Southwind call for Brett, going for the Yakuhai plus Adora and potential Sanshoku. And to the left, it's Felipe who calls the 6-mon, going Atozuke for the Hatsu with Adora in hand. 1 tile away from Tepai there. So if the Hatsu ever leaves Brett's hand, then Felipe will
Because
be ready to win.
here's the other thing with Blaine's hand, is that with that con, like, the rest of the shapes weren't good to begin with, so I would have liked to have bought myself as much time as possible. And the discards that he's giving out right now indicate that whatever he's got seems relatively random, and I think that gives everybody an impetus to go ahead and push with their hands, which leaves, unfortunately, Blaine to try to speed up his hand in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, Blaine technically Ishanten here. There's the call for Felipe, who's Tempai on the 4-7 mon. The 4s are all gone, but there's still 1 7 mon in the wall.
Is that a toy by Chris? Is that what he's aiming for?
That's what it looks like. You don't normally call the 1 mon in that situation. Oh, this is Tempai. We see a reach declared on the 3 mon. It is the
Yeah,
Dora tile.
you have to take it. Like, you have to at least show that you're Tempai and maybe scare somebody. Otherwise, there wasn't much of a point in doing the con in the first place.
Yeah, well, it's going to be awkward because all 3 players have calls. All the other 3 players, that is. And another call for Brett, so down to 4 tiles of defense without a Tempai. But the last 7 mon goes into Felipe's hand, and the danger is averted.
Yeah, and
So
Felipe, I
it's
mean, even with all the calls and all the hands, I mean, Felipe's hand was the most viable, I guess you could say, of all of them.
yeah.
So, not really much surprise there.
There was only 1 tile remaining, but does manage to pull it in, and we move to South 2. It's Chris's dealership, pair of Chun, and, well, awkward shapes elsewhere. Does not have the door 2 pin, although one of those is in the hand to the right. Brett might turn this into a Tanyao type hand. Across the table, that's a lot of Sozu. Although you've completed the 3-4-5 shape, so probably not making anything unusual here. It's a normal Pingyufu type hand. But maybe Itsu on top of that. And to the left, well, this has a lot of edge tiles and honor tiles.
Yeah, it's looking a bit slow on some players' sides. I mean, Christopher has now drawn a couple tiles into an Itsu on Sozu possibly, but still has an issue with like the Penchan or 8-9 pin right there. Might actually be that Brett could be closer than anybody else, given the fact he actually has like a Tanyao call like he just did.
Yeah, it just needs one more call for Tenpai or draw. And well, it looks like Chris also going for Itsu or Chun. So now 2 options for that value. Interesting, discarding 8 here. Is this
Well,
a...
he ran into the Dora, so it's I guess that makes sense. Although really, if you're gonna go that direction, maybe you discard the 5 pin so you could hedge. Because at least that way, if you got the 7, you could have called that, discarded the Dora, and at least had the Itsu.
Yeah, I was
There.
wondering if it was a sellout for Honitsu.
If it's a
But as
sell
it
for
is,
Honitsu, though, you have to discard the Dora because there's no reason to hold on to it then.
yeah, as it is with the Dora in hand, if you call the 5 so, now you've got Itsu and Chun, and you can wait for Dora Tanki, so Dora, having a pair of Dora in your hand is worth the same as open Honitsu, and that's a completely valid play. It's Brett who finds
Well,
Tenpai, though.
I mean, at this point, for Christopher, it's like he's trying to have his cake and eat it too. I think if he somehow gets the 5, so I think he's still going to wait Dora Tanki to try to
Yeah,
add more value to the hand.
yeah, that makes sense. 3-6 so wait for Brett. For Tanyao. And it looks like Felipe Ishanten is what? Or sorry, that's Blaine on the left who's Ishanten. Hanging on to that dangerous 6-0 is Chris.
No, I think he's going to push for the Honitsu, but again, if you were, you need to have gotten rid of that Dora the turn before, but you're going to get rid of it now, I assume.
Yeah, well, I actually like the play. I don't mind waiting Dora Tanki there, and it's worked its way into holding all of Brett's winning tiles, but it does come out from Felipe, so a 1,000 point hand moves us
Yeah,
forward again.
oddly enough, because Christopher looked like he was going for Sozu Honitsu, and so he could have easily been paying into something a little bit more expensive, especially as dealer, and it probably finds himself fortunate that he only ends up paying that Tanyo only.
Yeah, I kind of get the feeling that either there was a lot of flexibility being made in the construction of that hand, or the direction of the hand changed a couple times during the course of that, but it ended up getting into a correct spot without dealing in, and that's always a good thing. And well, this dealer hand for Brett is looking not too bad either. You've got 4 pairs of inside tiles, and so you could be making Tanya or Toy Toy, or even something more normal like
Yeah, you run the risk of falling in between because, like, I would look at this and be like, this is a possible cheat toy, but you have enough tiles that are running around. Unfortunately, now that 1 so discard backfires with the 2 so draw, but it it feels like this should be something that's more than just a cheat toy hand. That this could be like a Tanyao Pinfu, possibly Ipeiko. The ideas are endless, but at the same time, you're not
oh.
necessarily close either.
Well, that's interesting. I thought after the call for Tanya, we might see the 2 and 3 come out, but instead it's the 4 mon. So this looks like a Tanya push, but hedging Toy Toy.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know.
It's a little bit difficult to get Toy Toy with the inner tiles, but we'll see how this works out.
I
To
don't know if
the
maybe the 4-mon was trying to signal something. Maybe he might try to bait out the 2-mon that way, but you're still stuck with the 5-mon trying to call that or the 6 pin. So life isn't necessarily easy for you here. And it's not like a 2-3 so or anything safe to discard up until just now.
looking around the
So
table, we do see a lot of pairs being collected by the other players. So maybe Brett sort of recognizes that might be happening. Does get the 6 pin to come out.
Yeah, but again, you still had they weren't pairs in terms of going for Cheeto or anything like that.
And well, Felipe has found Tempai, declares Ricci waiting on the 6 and 9 pin for Ricci with potentially Peiko.
And I think this is also a possible play on the table, because if you were to look at the table, you see 3 6s. You're like, would somebody really wait on the 6-9? Now, again, looking at Felipe's discards, no Pinzu being discarded, so you still have to be suspicious about Pinzu either way. But I mean, one of your worser weights probably would have to be the 6-9. Not that I don't think anybody would discard into that. Again, just because I see no Pinzu discarded is the reason why.
Right. And yeah, the other thing though, until that 8 pin had come up, we hadn't seen any of the 7s or 8s. So if you're collecting pin tiles, it's probably more likely that you have a 7 and an 8 than that you have a 6, given that 3 are already visible on the table.
And the problem is the problem for Felipe sort of in this situation is because he's sitting on 2 7s and 2 8s, nobody's gonna be able to put a wall there of 7s or 8s to think that the 9 is a safe discard.
It looks like, well, the 6 pin is in the hand to the left, but that is being used in that hand, so it's not likely to come out. There's a 9 pin across the table, but I feel like Blaine's playing it
Wow.
safe, and Felipe just draws
Wow.
it again. Richitsumo Ipego no Ura, but again, Felipe pulling ahead, and this is enough to knock Blaine below 30,000 as we enter South 4.
And again, Felipe being all last dealer and in the league could just basically no 10 this hand.
Yeah.
Now, not saying that say Blaine could directly hit him for a Mangon and take first place, but you know, Blaine or Felipe does have that option to just close to force a no 10 hand and make everybody try to fight for one hand to try to catch up.
Well, Felipe was faced with that early decision. Do you want to open yourself up in this hand? Does decide to do so, as the shapes elsewhere are fairly strong. You've got the 6-7 Yamen in the Manzu and the 5-6 Yamen in the Pinzu. And so you're playing with extra shapes here in the early stages, because you can call either the 1-2 pin or the 1-3 so, and discard the other shape, keep the nice ones in hand. But we do see the early call, and Felipe's just trying to fight for some more points.
Yeah, I'm trying to see where you people's heads would be at, because Brett needs a pretty decent hand to try to catch up, and with Felipe calling twice, I think for Brett, unless his Itsu can come together really quickly, and have that North be a Dora pair, I would almost be more than happy to let Felipe win this cheap hand. Hopefully it's cheap, and then retry again.
Yeah, just don't be the person to deal in, and then get another go at things.
And I think at least everybody at this point, if their hands aren't coming together and they don't have the hands that they want, I mean, they're probably more than happy to have a redo.
For sure.
Because even if Felipe wins a small hand like this, I mean, yes, he does increase the distance, but at the same time, it allows everybody another chance to try to go ahead here.
Yeah, we might see.
I can see why. Well, wait a minute. Okay, so Itsudora 2. Let's be on the optimistic side of things here. Is that enough to get you into third?
Well, I guess the problem is, if you're making Itsu, you probably have to drop that 8 mon.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it's not enough. Yeah. See, okay, that's fine. That's actually fine for both also Brett and Christopher, because that means that Blaine's now even closer to them.
Well, Felipe with another callable hand. Sometimes the shapes aren't quite as amazing as the last hand, but
no. Brett's got a good chance here, I think, of actually trying to make a comeback here out of fourth. His hand is definitely a lot better than everybody else's. I mean, I know Felipe can call the Hatsu, but Brett's got Tanya with Dora at least one. and his shapes look really good. There's a chance Brett could get out of fourth here with this hand.
Yeah, it looks like the
Now for
gap.
Felipe, that's fine. I mean, it's not going to change the fact that he's probably going to finish first here. But for everybody else, like having that redo, yeah.
Yep. Wonko drawn for Felipe, so he can now call anything. And well, Brett has a 4,900 point gap to make up. So if you hit directly with 2,600 on Christopher, that'll be enough to pass.
For Brett here is he can't really call. He's gonna have to stay closed, declare Ricci, get Ricci, Tanyao, Dora, maybe he hits Ura, and then not only does he take second, but he could also be over 30.
Mm. Have to be some good Uda to make it over 30. And Felipe does call the 4-mon, so now Ishantem. And the only other Dora 6-mon that we see is in the hand to the right, which looks like a fight for Honitsu. Oh, and that's a nice draw. Honitsu could be real here, and that would be enough, of course, to make it over 30,000.
It's a good draw.
2 tiles away now for Brett.
I mean, that should be a call from Felipe. Even now, it doesn't even matter what that his discards look. Everything looks weird. You have to assume that he's Tenpai, like he wouldn't be pushing otherwise.
Yeah, he's really hoping that the 6-so can come out of the hand to the right, which, by the way, Blaine has just drawn an Anko of the Red Dragons. Oh, and there's a fill for Brett on the left, drawing the 7-mon. So now that's 1 tile away from Tenpai.
If he draws a 6-pin, he could have a huge hand here.
Yeah. If you can get Tanyao and you can go.
Never mind.
It's Felipe who draws again.
Brett's probably like, oh, come on, I had a hand here.
So this doesn't change too much around the table, except it just makes it a little harder for Blaine to get back up to 30,000. But between the 3 players who are below, the positional battle there is still the same. They all paid the same amount. And you get an extra home bot now.
It looks like here now, the person that probably has the advantage outside of Felipe, just because he's in first, is Blaine. But still needs a little help. But he has the tiles to get himself over 30. It looks like.
Yeah.
If he just gets the right draws.
And Chris across the table has 2, 3, 4 Sanchoku chance plus a Dora in hand that he could pair up. And on the left, Brett might be thinking Chinitsu, Honitsu.
Well, I mean, you have to, considering the deficit, right?
Certainly in the forefront of your mind.
Is questionable discarding the honors and keeping some of the other tiles, given that what you need? That's an interesting non-call. I guess because you were Tenpai?
I guess when you draw into Tenpai without calling, that works. And so if the 4-pin
Brett's
comes out...
trouble.
Oh, this is gonna... It's so hard for Brett to make this hand. He's got the 1 and the 4, and the 4 would be Sanchoku as well as Richidora 2.
He almost has to hope that like somebody like Blaine pays in instead before he does.
It starts with a safe Haku. Oh, and Blaine drew the 4. There are ways to use that, though.
There's also ways for Brett to use that 4-mon.
Oh, the 1 comes out. Yeah, not much you can do from Brett's position. And when you reach a door 2, no Uda, so just 5,200 points.
But that puts him over 30,000.
Yeah, just enough. So it is Felipe with another first place, plus 32, moves him all the way up to second place in the standings. Pint with a small 5.7 victory, which is a victory indeed after having been negative for most of that game. Blaine with a negative 7.6. And Brett with negative 30.8.
Yeah, that's unfortunate for Brett. Like, he actually had a chance to even not only get out of last place, but even get himself into second.
And yeah, well, those 2 matches were all about Felipe. That was a good showing from him, and definitely reflected on the leaderboard. 4 first place, 1 second, 3 thirds, and 0 fourth place finishes for Felipe.
Yep, triple digits right now in score so far, and it's probably looking at is probably on one of the more faster tracks to promotion. I mean, we're still only 2 rounds in, but um, definitely looking good early.
Yeah. And well, it looks like those are the final two games of that set. So we'll be moving on to the next set of matches, which will be from B1, Group B1. Um, I believe they may be in the middle of a match, which we
Yeah,
will.
they were supposed to have started at the
Uh,
top of last hour, so they're probably either getting close to finishing their first game or get into their second game, probably.
yeah, I suspect we're actually already into the second game. Matches on Tenho do not last as long as you might think, especially if you're used to playing on other platforms.
Yeah, I mean, even the longer games that we have in our league, still like you know, there was one I think that did last over an hour, but most cases, like even the longer games, are 60 minutes or so.
And so we rejoined the game already in progress, and it looks like, well, we joined a good time to watch Ryan win a Mangan. Today's competitors will be Ryan, who is sashimi. John is on the right currently. Andres across the table, and Perry on the left. And now that we switched the placements, we are looking at Andres, or rather, Perry, who is our current dealer. And well, this is an incredible starting hand if you're a dealer. You've got chance for Richie Pinku and a Dora. Probably
Yeah,
the best hand at this
you'd
table
like.
right now.
Ooh, now there's Itsu possibilities, maybe question mark depending upon what you draw, but you have the 2-3 pin, so that could make things a little awkward.
Yeah, it's
Although
awkward to think that that will
realistically,
come into play.
well, realistically though, you could either fight for the Itsu or you could even fight for the Sanshoku, all things depending on how things turn out.
Well,
Oh,
drawing this would be Tempai.
well, yeah, okay. That's
Yeah.
a
I mean,
three-sided
ideally
weight.
not.
I think you take that.
Three-sided weight, Richie Pinku Dora 2. It's beautiful. And so big chance for Perry to come back into the lead here. Currently at 27,000 points, so just behind, it looks like, Ryan and Andres. And you sumo that, so Hanemon chance now. Sumo Pinfu Dora 2, and no Daba. 4,000 alt is still a huge total of points. We're up to 40,000 for Perry now. That's definitely first place, and another good starting hand. Looks like
Yeah,
there's a,
not many other people can compete on speed. Maybe Andres.
yeah, the hand to the left has that north pair, so that's Yakuhai. The Chun pair on the right is also called, and so I'm wondering if that is going to turn into some type of Honitsu. The west was discarded early, but you can
That's another door right there. One, two,
on the
three,
left.
four. Wait, that's Ishanten for Chitoy.
Yeah, 5 pairs. Waiting for one more for Tenpai.
Yeah, I guess you had the 2 7s. You're gonna have to get rid of one of those at least. You're gonna want to get rid of. Oh
Yes, it
no!
always happens this way.
Yeah, I don't blame him though. I would have discarded one of the 7s. I don't know which one I would have discarded. I might have actually done the 7 Mon discard based upon what was out there. Actually, no. No, I would have done the 7 so probably, and I would have probably had the backfire on me as well.
Oh, interesting. We'll cross
So
the
now
door
you're
and
now
goes for
you're
Toy
now you're going
Toy.
for the Toy Toy. So Yakuhai Toy Doors 3. Still a
Maybe
Mangan
Hanemon.
though.
Yeah, if he gets the Yakuhai,
Oh yeah. That's right. That's right. Sorry.
but does need the Yakuhai. We haven't seen the North just yet. At least does need the Yakuhai for the Hanemon. And it looks like it was a call for Perry, 1, 2, 3. So no Honitsu Dreams here. We're just going to finish this hand.
Well,
Do you
the
need?
nice thing for Andres is that he looks like Pinsu Honitsu, and yes, he could use the North, for instance, but at the same time, his final weight could end up incorporating the 9 and that would be not what you're expecting based upon the discards.
Mm-hmm.
But he'd have to have the North or the 5 pin and first. Like
Well,
he
this
can't.
is big trouble.
Oh, yeah, he's stuck.
Yeah, Ryan managed to get the call of the two just in
Yeah.
time for the 5-7-8 tempi, and Andres will deal into that. So a cheap hand, but that makes the battle for second place really tight here. Only 300 points separating Ryan and Andres as we move to Ryan's dealership in South 1.
Unfortunately, before we even move, we noticed that Perry already has a Yakuhai on tap, and could even entertain Honitsu if he wanted to.
Yeah, if you could maybe draw the north, and you're really entertaining that thought. But now you've drawn two pairs in another suit, perhaps less so. Goes Atozuke waiting for the Haku. Although the sixth pin is lighting up, the Haku is the tile that will provide a Yaku. And so, can anybody fight this? The dealer's hand is not bad. And that's actually Ishantem. So, with two Dora, dealer has a really good chance for Richi Pinfu plus the Dora Mangan. And the hand to the right isn't terrible either. You don't really want to discard Dora here. So instead discards the 9 pin. Oh, sorry, 9 mon. And across the table, oh, this is Tempai though for Ryan. Let's come over here. It is Tanyao Pinfu. Sorry, Pinfu Dora 2. Chan?
Ooh.
Well, that doesn't really work
It
because you don't have a backup
doesn't, but
pair. Maybe entertaining thoughts of discarding the 9 and trying to get Tanyao and Ipeko in there as well. Instead maintains the 2-5 weight. We can see that there's only one 2-pin left in the wall. It's actually Tempai for Andres. Waiting on just the 7-pin, but the Haku is finally found by Perry. So there's some big hands brewing, but it is Haku only that pulls it out. Perry extending the lead a little bit. And we move to South 2. It is John who is our dealer, has the Haku pair. And good shapes outside of the 5-7 pin. Looks like he's planning on using the 8-so to be his pair. Another good draw. Well, to the right, that hand's looking a little bit awkward. Wants to really draw the Dora 2-mon, one of which is in the hand across the table. For Big Hat, who also has a south pair, you can call that and try to make a quick 2-han hand. And to the left, this hand looks very much like a Pinfu or maybe Itsu hand. Well, less Itsu and more Pinfu now.
I'm trying to figure out what John's doing here, because I know his style of play can be aggressive and a little bit on the occult side. So I'm trying to figure out what his angle is here.
Yeah, had some
He has
awkward backfires early, and well, keeps the 7. So
he's found his way almost back here.
this is working out. And well, this
Well,
is
now he's
Tempai on the
Tempai.
left. So Tempai for 2 players now. Big is that Ryan, who is not declaring Ricci with this Pinfu waiting on the 6-9.
Interesting he's
And
not taking it. I wonder what his tack is here, because 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, 6 got a hanging 5. Doesn't matter though.
yep, it's the 1,000 deal into the Dama hand, which is interesting as it doesn't change the standings too much here.
No, yeah, I wasn't paying attention to what was going on with the rest there, but could just be that they wanted to score that win to at least have the second place in hand right now,
Yeah.
and maybe if there wasn't any more value left in the hand, that you just take what you can get and try to make up more of the gap between them and first place in the final couple hands.
Well, they did manage to get the 1,000 points, but now you're only 1,400 ahead of Andres, who's the dealer and has potential 1, 2, 3 Sanshoku, which includes a Dora, so there's a chance to make this hand worth something. But it's Tanya Tempai on the right for Big Hat, waiting for the 6-pin. Just the 6-pin for now. And there is a Dora in that hand too, so it would be 2,000 points. Across the table, it doesn't look close enough to fight. And on the left, you're trying to build into a massive Honitsu. Pulling one otter pair is good there, and Andre's drawing a second Dora now. Probably thinking about making the Sanchoku a little bit less. Interesting, the 3-pin there is technically a weight upgrade because you get the 1-4, but the 1 doesn't win, so
I
choosing
guess
instead.
no. I think you're using the Nakasuji 6-pin weight between the
Mhm.
9-pin and the 3-pin,
Yeah, I like the play. You don't wanna give yourself a potential 3-10 situation.
which you would have had.
Mhm. Still Honitsu in progress and does not call the 9-pin. And another deal and tile drawn by Andres, who might have to end up discarding that should they get
C.
close to Tempai.
Boom.
Yeah, there
Ryan
goes
calling
John.
Ryan calling for the Sanshoku, who's aiming for 2-3-4. Perry just waiting for that 6-pin to come out. Unfortunately, it's locked in the other two hands, and
Well, and everybody now has to be worried about John, I would assume.
yeah, John now Ishantem.
C.
No Pinzu discards, has called the 8-pin, is basically throwing everything else out. You'd be especially worried about that 1-pin discard. You'd think there'd maybe been some overflow, and now he must be Tempai. And so if you were thinking, wow, he does
Kang.
discard the Pinzu into that.
What interesting. It was the better weight, of course, switching to the 2-5 that also includes Dora. And now a decision for Andres, who decides that Pinzu cannot be discarded. Now can maybe work around to Tanya if you can get another 4-7. And this is Tempai across the table now for
Kang.
there must have been a slightly different call earlier that I missed.
No, I think he is either, it could have been a timeout. I don't know. Because there
Oh,
was Tempai. They do take it now.
yeah, probably dodging the Fudi-10 situation for Tanya Dora. Instead, it has the Sanshoku now and waiting on the 6, so which, this could come out of Andre's hand after just getting the 5.
Well, it depends if he gets to Tempai or not.
Does the 5-mon come out of John's hand?
Oh wait, that's the last tile, isn't it? No,
Here
not
it
in my
is.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, if the 5-mon had come out, then we could have seen that deal in the last. Well, I guess it wouldn't be the last discard because there had been a call, but the no-tin payments drops Andres below 30,000, and we enter South 4. Perry in front, and Perry is our dealer. Looking to build Ricci here. If you can draw the 7-pin, then maybe you can even think about Pifu as well.
But it's the same position as what we saw with Felipe, where you have the lead, your final dealer.
Boom.
You don't have to push unless you think there's a dangerous hand out there.
Yeah, and somebody who wants to push, even if it's for just 1,000 points, is Andres on the left. Is desperately trying to make it over 1,000, rather 30,000 points, and has a pretty good
Yeah,
chance at
it
it.
has a good chance at it. Doesn't really have much value otherwise, so
C.
may just be content with taking their third place positive finish.
Yeah, a little bit of hesitation on that call, probably bemoaning the fact that they're not going to be able to go for a Sanchoku Doko with the 7s, but as it is, you don't need that for your value. And pulls in the Anko Tempai and the 1
Yeah, that's it.
and the 4 it comes out immediately. And so that's great for Andres. That's also good for Perry. Ends the round with minimal damage. And so we have completed this set. It's Perry with plus 27.4. Ryan, second place with 9.3. And Andres managed to finish positive with that last second victory. And John fourth with negative 37.9. And, well, looking at the standings, all these players are grouped together. So this was actually quite an
They stay
interesting
grouped
battle.
together actually, so not much separation here being made between the players, and now they'll have to break up and face other people around the B1 league to try to get themselves out of danger demotion territory. But again, we're in week 2 here, so not like as if they're in any desperate or dire situations as it stands right now.
Yeah, we're getting close to the end of week 2. On Sunday will be the last of the regularly scheduled games, although I think we do have one postponed match for the Monday following. But and after that, we'll be moving on to session 3. So anybody who's watching this from the league, get ready. Your new matches are going to need to be scheduled soon, and we're really looking forward to seeing where the standings lie in a few days' time, and who your opponents will be, and looking at the exciting matches coming soon.
No,
Well,
it's definitely today was probably a little bit more tamer than I think our broadcast before, where some nonsensical things were happening in terms of me calling tiles that came together. But I would say that this is probably more standard play. Thankfully, nothing too out of the ordinary, and fairly solid play overall.
yeah, outside of the wild start to the broadcast with Felipe hitting back-to-back Haneman, it did seem like a fairly more standard set of matches, and so, well, nonetheless, it was some interesting play, and we'll be looking forward to the next one. Any last thoughts, Edwin, before we call it for the evening?
Uh, Really, it's just kind of like a nice, relaxing way to spend the evening, calling a couple games. Um, glad people who came in and tuned in and watched us. And if you're interested and you happen to be an American citizen or a resident of the U.S., you can go ahead and check out our site, AmericanReachie.org, and see if you want to come and join us for the summer session. It is a longer term league. It's definitely different than the things that you might have been seeing around otherwise in terms of tournaments and whatnot. But if you're into that type of stuff and you want to test your metal on a longer term basis, that's what we're here for.
Well, that sounds excellent. And so, again, for anybody who's interested in more information about the league, AmericanReachie.org also has links to uh, the Twitch page, of course, the YouTube page, and the Twitter page. So, hopefully, you get the chance to check that out. And so, for Edwin and Scott, this is Nathanael. Thanking you for watching, and hoping to see you in the next broadcast. Have a good evening.
Have a good night, everyone.